What do you understand by content moderation?
Content moderation involves reviewing, analyzing, and ensuring that user-generated content on online platforms adheres to community guidelines, legal regulations, and platform policies. The goal is to maintain a safe, respectful, and positive environment by removing harmful or inappropriate content such as hate speech, graphic violence, adult material, and other types of prohibited content. Moderators also address issues like spam and misinformation.
Why do you want to work as a content moderator?
I am passionate about ensuring online spaces remain safe and welcoming for everyone. As someone who values respectful communication, I find the role of a content moderator to be meaningful and impactful. It allows me to help build a positive user experience while also tackling challenges that arise from inappropriate content, fake news, or harmful behavior. I also enjoy working in fast-paced environments where I can make a direct difference in the quality of the platform.
How would you handle a situation where you come across offensive or inappropriate content?
First, I would assess the content to determine if it violates the platform's guidelines. If it does, I would take appropriate action according to company protocols, whether that's removing the content, issuing a warning, or escalating it to higher authorities, depending on the severity. I would document the issue as required and ensure the correct processes are followed. My approach would always prioritize both the safety of the community and compliance with the platform's policies.
How do you manage emotional challenges when reviewing harmful or sensitive content?
It's important to maintain emotional resilience in this role. I would take a professional and methodical approach to reviewing content, always focusing on the facts and guidelines rather than the emotional impact of the content. To manage emotional challenges, I make sure to take regular breaks, use coping techniques, and speak with colleagues or supervisors if needed. I understand the importance of emotional well-being in maintaining job performance and would take steps to ensure my mental health is supported.
Can you explain a time when you had to make a difficult decision while working with a team?
In a previous role, I worked on a team tasked with creating guidelines for a new product feature. We had differing opinions about some of the restrictions, especially concerning user-generated content. I facilitated discussions where we listened to each other's perspectives and ultimately reached a consensus that prioritized both user freedom and platform safety. It was a difficult decision-making process, but we agreed on a balanced approach, which helped ensure the feature was successful and met the company's standards.
How would you handle a situation where you disagree with a colleague on the interpretation of content moderation guidelines?
If I disagreed with a colleague's interpretation of guidelines, I would first ensure I fully understood their point of view. I would engage in an open and respectful conversation to discuss our differences. If needed, I would consult with our supervisor or refer to the platform's policy to get clarification. It's important to maintain a collaborative approach, as we're all working toward the same goal, keeping the platform safe and aligned with its values.
What do you think are the most important qualities for a content moderator to have?
The most important qualities for a content moderator are attention to detail, strong decision-making skills, emotional resilience, and the ability to work under pressure. Moderators must be familiar with platform policies, be able to make consistent and fair decisions, and maintain a neutral stance when reviewing content. Communication and teamwork are also key, as content moderators often work with other teams to escalate complex issues.
How do you stay updated on the latest trends and changes in content moderation policies and guidelines?
I stay updated by regularly reviewing the company's internal resources, such as policy updates, training materials, and team communications. I also follow industry blogs, forums, and news related to content moderation, data privacy, and online safety to keep abreast of emerging trends. Additionally, I participate in any internal training sessions or workshops offered to ensure my knowledge is current and I am adhering to the best practices in the field.
What steps would you take if you found that a user was repeatedly violating platform guidelines?
I would first review the user's content history to confirm whether there are repeated violations. If so, I would follow the platform's escalation process, which might include issuing a warning, restricting the user's ability to post, or even banning the account, depending on the severity of the violations. The goal is to ensure that we are being fair and consistent in how we enforce the guidelines while also providing users with a clear understanding of the consequences of their actions.
How do you prioritize your tasks when there is a large volume of content to review?
I prioritize content based on urgency and the potential impact of the violation. Content that involves extreme harm or danger, such as threats, violence, or illegal activities, would take precedence. I would also look for patterns of spamming or misinformation, which might require more immediate action. I use time management skills to stay organized and ensure I'm effectively handling the workload while also being mindful of maintaining the quality of the review process.
How do you stay updated with changing content moderation policies and trends?
I would stay updated by regularly reading any emails or newsletters from the company about policy changes. I'd also participate in team meetings and training sessions to ensure I understand the latest updates. I think it's important to be proactive in seeking information to stay aligned with the company's goals.
What steps would you take if you came across content that could potentially harm a vulnerable group?
If I came across content that could harm a vulnerable group, I'd follow the guidelines to report or remove it immediately. The safety of the community is the top priority, and it's important to take quick action to prevent any further harm. I'd also report the incident to a supervisor if it requires extra attention or further steps.
How do you maintain your mental health while dealing with potentially disturbing content?
It's important to take regular breaks and focus on self-care. If the content is emotionally difficult, I try to remind myself that I'm protecting others by doing my job. I also believe in having a support system, whether it's talking to colleagues or utilizing mental health resources offered by the company. Setting boundaries and knowing when to step back is key.
How do you prioritize content when you have a large queue to moderate?
When I have a large queue, I prioritize based on urgency. Content that's more harmful or violates major platform rules gets reviewed first. I also use moderation tools to help filter and sort through the content quickly. If the content is more ambiguous, I would take more time to assess it carefully.
What would you do if a user complained about the removal of their content? How would you handle the situation?
If a user complained about their content being removed, I would politely explain the reason based on the platform's guidelines. I'd also make sure to remain respectful and professional, as people can be upset. If the user insists, I would guide them on how to appeal the decision, as many platforms have an appeal process to review content again.
What qualities do you think make someone a successful content moderator?
I believe successful content moderators have strong attention to detail, the ability to stay impartial, and good decision-making skills. They also need emotional resilience to handle difficult content. Communication skills are also important, as moderators often need to explain decisions clearly to users or other team members.
Can you give an example of how you would handle an inappropriate comment made in a live chat or community forum?
If I saw an inappropriate comment in a live chat or community forum, I'd first review the platform's rules to ensure the comment breaks the guidelines. Then, I would either delete or mute the comment, depending on the severity. If necessary, I'd issue a warning to the user or temporarily ban them. I'd also document the incident in case further action is needed.
How would you deal with content that might not explicitly violate any rules, but could still be harmful or upsetting to the community?
In those cases, I would consider the context of the content. Even if it doesn't break any specific rules, if it's upsetting or harmful, I'd flag it for further review or remove it based on the platform's broader guidelines about user well-being. It's important to consider the potential impact, even if it's a gray area.
If you were moderating a social media platform and encountered a piece of fake news, what would you do?
If I came across fake news, I would first verify the information through credible sources. Then I would either flag it or remove it if it violated the platform's guidelines on misinformation. Many platforms have dedicated teams to handle these issues, so I'd report it to them if necessary.
How do you ensure that you're making consistent moderation decisions?
I make sure to consistently refer to the platform's guidelines when making decisions. I also keep notes of difficult cases to help maintain consistency and learn from previous decisions. If I'm unsure, I don't hesitate to ask a supervisor or colleague for advice to ensure I'm making the right call.